Say Something. It's like a podcast, but it's a vodcast, so you can listen and watch. It's like news talk or sports talk, but it's life talk, so we can walk the road together. On today's episode, the wonderful Diane Paddison, mother author, Harvard MBA C-level exec at 2 Fortune 500 companies, and founder of forwardwomen.org, joins the carpool to chat about women in the workplace, mentoring, and faith.
She said this that is just totally caught on. I have finally found my people.
Really?
You know, I think just finding that community of women that understand, you know, what it's like to be in the workplace and to focus on your relationships and have your faith be your grounding. You know, just finding that community.
Diane is a wealth of knowledge and encouragement who shares from her experiences to help today's women balance career and family. Thanks for joining the conversation. Here we go. Our kids, Brenda and we both have children at the same school, and so often we really do sit in the carpool line and chat. And so today the timing is great for us to do it again. However, Jack made me promise that we won't put him in the car. We accidentally did that one time, and it was horrifying to him.
Sweet boy. I almost had to pick up another little girl, Mary Claire. So we almost,
really?
Yeah, I had a replacement for Jack there.
Oh my gosh.
But Diane, how long has it been since you even drove through a carpool lane?
Boy, it has probably been, our youngest is 22.
Okay.
So it's been at least, I'm going to say 6 years, but probably longer than that, because we live close enough to Highland Park High School.
So your kids would go. I was going to ask you how you did your carpool, like how you did that.
Well, my husband and I, every morning we would split, or you know, one would do one, and we had a couple of carpools we were in, so we would do that in the morning. But then in the afternoon, I was blessed to have a nanny, and her name was Joni.
Okay.
And
so you have 4 kids. And so when you would do your carpool, you had help, definitely had help. So
yes, after school.
Yeah.
She basically got that taken care of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you were on and off of planes. You were doing the corporate thing during that time.
Yeah, I mean, Chris and I did a pretty good job of, and I'll talk about boundaries, but I had a deal where I would only travel 1 night a week average with every one of my bosses, and they honored it.
And you were able to get that approved, and it happened that way. It actually played out.
Wow. And I think that's why it's so important to pick the right company to work for.
Yeah, that's so true.
Because, you know, they understand that working with you might be a positive for the company also.
So did you go into the workplace letting them know right up front, hey, these are my boundaries? And it's I think probably better that way. That way you don't have to go back. They know what the expectation is. You don't feel like you have to make excuses.
Right. And at that point in time, I had been in the workplace long enough that I had built a reputation before I had kids.
Okay.
That, you know, that's what I say to a lot of women who are involved in Forward, which is a ministry I founded, is that, you know, what you need to do is build a reputation. Then a company will be willing to work with you. Don't go in and ask for all these things before you've even shown them that you're going to be a great employee.
That's a great thing. Will you tell us a little bit more about forwardwomen.org?
Yes.
Okay.
So Forward came about because I really saw that so many women didn't really have a group of women to help them do life with.
Boy, isn't that the truth?
And how important it was for me before I founded Forward to have that group of women to do life with. So, you know, our goal is to create a global community of Christian women in the workplace to help them be bold in every aspect of their life.
Wow.
And so their faith, their relationships, and their work, and see their work as a place that is their mission field.
That is terrific. And you started that in 2010 or 2012?
Yeah, 2011.
Right in the middle.
Right
in my head, I was thinking about when that was.
Yeah.
So, right then.
Yeah, and the book was published, and the first group was launched, and we had our website. Now we have about 2 million that come to our website or our social media. And we're in 18 cities, and we have a mentor program, and it's just awesome to hear how God is using it to really impact women.
And about to do your second gala.
Second gala with Amy Grant.
Can you
Wow!
Can you believe?
Big time.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
going to be really fun. And we have a luncheon before that because the gala sold out. So now we're doing a luncheon on Friday.
Wow, that's
With Amy
terrific.
Grant.
Wow.
Okay, so
congratulations.
we were so glad that you were available to chat because we did a show recently, and Aaron shot out a message just kind of asking, what would you like to hear about? And just almost instantly a response came. How do you manage a life like a life of faith in a secular environment, and walking alongside women who you know trying to get along even though you may not agree on certain things, and
Right.
how do you navigate that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll tell you, I think first of all, you know, it's all about trying to make the right choice to begin with of where you go to work.
And what would you look for?
You know, I would look for, and it's things like we were just talking about around boundaries. I would, you know, your honesty actually may close some doors,
Right.
but it will be great that it closes doors that you
That's the
really
truth.
don't want to walk through.
Right.
So-
So something we should be okay with.
Yeah, yeah. So I just think
That's
up
so
front,
interesting.
just sharing, you know, what's important to you. I've actually written into contracts, you know, my
Have
travel.
you really?
Yeah,
Yes.
The
Okay.
last company I worked for, I had the amount of travel I would do, and they were global, and I was their global COO. So I put in there, you know, that I would only travel internationally 5 weeks of the year, and that I would only be at their headquarters, which was in Denver, only 2 days, 1 night a week. So I would only be away from my family 1 night a week.
Wow,
average.
that's
Wow.
terrific.
So, you know, I think number one, you got to pick the right company you work for, or the right organization. You know, and I was thinking about this, and I didn't do this well when I was crazy corporate world with 4 kids and married. But today, you know, my Bible study first thing in the morning is like my grounding for my day.
Yeah.
And I think of how much better my days are because I'm in the Word at the beginning of the day. And I didn't do that when I was in the corporate world like I do it today.
Right.
It was sporadic, or it was short, or but boy, that sure makes a difference in my day.
Right.
I mean, just even thinking about what we were going to talk about today. And last night I said, okay, God, you know, when I wake up tomorrow, I'd love for you to put in my mind, you know, what is it that I should be thinking about? And when I woke up this morning, just all these things were coming in my mind.
I love that.
That's
Yeah.
exciting.
I love that.
Well, one thing that you said that I would love to just press into further, because it is the reality, is especially for full-time working women, their business place is their ministry. That's where they're spending all
Right.
their time. Certainly that's true of part-time women as well. But, you know, for a woman that's there full-time, she's just there a lot.
Right.
So how does a woman successfully balance that in a business setting?
Well, you know, I have a few great stories of women that I just admire so much. So a friend of mine who is an executive at American Express, and she and I've known each other for years because we both were in the real estate world, and so we got to be close. And I was just with her in New York in October and asked her to speak on a panel. And, you know, you never can plan these things like,
Right.
you know, God's going to just make it happen. We had a woman ask that question. So how do you guys share your faith in the workplace? So Susan shared this story about, you know, she basically always is, she is a very caring person and cares about people, and people know about her life because she'll tell them what she does on the weekend, or and there was a woman that was sick with cancer, and it was a, you know, really tough for the whole group. And she just sent an email and said, hey, if anyone would like to come join me, we're going to pray for this woman at American Express. She said at the time she had sent this out, her office got full. They had to move to a bigger conference room.
Wow.
It got full.
Wow.
They had to move to this big meeting room. And she said, you know what, you really don't know how God's going to use you.
Well, especially in those times where people are hurting.
Yeah.
We had a similar experience just, in a different type of a workplace, which was when I, staying at home with little children, and a similar experience on our block. And people were hurting, and we sent out kind of a little similar, we don't want to be intrusive or anything, but if you'd like to get together and pray, we're going to get together and pray. And it was interesting for people that had never prayed together with anybody before showed up. And I think it was just the hurting aspect that certainly opened the door.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that it had to be incredibly bold for her to send the email in the first place.
It is scary.
She's a pretty bold person.
Yeah.
I bet she is bold.
Yeah, she's awesome.
And even with the way that your website and everything that you're doing is caught on, there are a lot of people in the workplace who are saying, hey, I need something. There's a great need there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting what we hear from the women that are part of Forward. One of our leaders of Houston, she came to a meeting and she said this that is just totally caught on. I have finally found my people.
Really?
I think just finding that community of women that understand, what it's like to be in the workplace and to focus on your relationships and have your faith be your grounding. Just finding that community. I think that's the other thing that's really important, is just making sure you have a community, and it might be 3 or 4 people. But
that's one of the things foundationally that we talked about when we were thinking about doing Say Something, Kay.
Right.
People want to feel like they belong.
Oh yeah, that's definitely one of our mantras, is to be known and to belong and to be loved.
Right.
And that's where we have definitely seen in the current environment a lot of women walking alongside each other, and there's so much I don't know, it's like heated discussion of late, and the disagreements have been so much more prevalent than the common ground. And so how do you navigate that in a workplace?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And I'll tell you, I've learned so much after starting Forward, because we have, the whole team is women, and we have, 5 full-time and 5 part-time, and then we work with 250 volunteers. And I'll tell you, the one thing that has just been the greatest resource has been Strength Finders. And I don't know if you use what I love about Strength Finders, because we have our whole team on a grid. And when someone gets frustrated, I say, pull out your grid.
Really?
The reason you're frustrated is because Jordan is a very structured person, and we need her. She is so good at managing, getting 3 blogs out a week for Forward. She's unbelievable. But, you that likes to be real free-flowing, you're real creative, sometimes that doesn't feel real good. But sometimes the way your strength doesn't feel real good to her. Right. So just trying to help people.
Okay, that's so cool. You each person has it, and so they really know each other based on their strengths. Okay, that actually would be a really cool thing to do in your family, like with siblings. Oh yeah, for goodness sake.
Or husband.
Where have you been? Diane, I needed you several years ago. You could have avoided some conflict in our house.
Because, it really helps you. Like, my oldest is a woo. And, there's a lot of other...
winning others over.
Thank you very much for that.
I know, that's us, Brenda. It's like, LOL. Right. BTW.
OMG.
Yes.
And he's,
woo.
And he is also very competitive. And then his sister is, like, super empathetic, super relational. And I can say, remember, your brother is this. He's not going to have this long relationship. He's going to hit them and go.
Yes.
You know, and you're going to walk beside them forever.
That is so great. And to have that in an environment where women are working together, because I think women tend to, like, when your feelings get hurt, you kind of step it. And I think women are slow to volunteer for things. They'd much rather be asked than to step up and go, oh, that's me.
Yeah.
And so how neat that you have that in your workplace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's getting our carpool number, so let's just wave. Hi.
Are you happy to go?
She wants us to move out.
There we go.
That's
This
so
really
so
is
cute.
carpool.
It really is
Yeah.
carpool.
You think I'm joking, but I'm not.
So here we go.
Thanks.
So let's talk about something else. We talked about faith in the workplace, but how do you stay faithful in the workplace? Is that something different?
Right. You know, and I do think a lot of it goes back, at least for me, to community. You know, I think the fact that you and I are involved with this Monday night Bible study with a lot of other women that are sort of in the same sort of type of life together. And we have the ability to go to those women every Monday night and share what we're dealing with and have them praying for us. And I had 4 in my mid-40s that we met every third Wednesday for lunch. And we were able to share the things that we had on our heart, or the exciting things that were going on. And be able to know that each other could really understand.
Whenever you jump out in front and do something like you've done with 4 World Women in the book also, you receive so much more. What is it that you are receiving? What about this journey has changed you the most?
Yeah. Well, there's one that's sort of overall, and then I'll share a little deep personal one. So the first, just overall, is my passion comes from seeing women see something in themselves that they never thought they could do before.
Okay.
So I just get so excited when I see women, and we hear it all the time at the end of our mentor program. They'll say, Erin was my mentor, and I would have never done this without Erin, but she gave me the confidence too. And then they'll share a story. So that's the thing that just, the energy I get from hearing these stories.
Yeah,
and
how
just
encouraging
seeing,
that is.
Yeah, it's just amazing. From a personal standpoint, and I know Brenda knows this, but my daughter, who's 25, has had a really tough health journey. And she's been with me for the past 2.5 years with this issue with her sciatic nerve. And the
Ouch.
women of Forward have just, come around us. They bring meals every other night so that she doesn't have to eat my cooking every night. Some of my friends have become her closest friends. They come and pray with us. She knows she has a Facebook page called the Annie's Army that there's about 4,000 that are on. And
I need to be on that.
yes, Annie's Army. So, when I founded Forward, I did it because I wanted to serve others, and then you see how God just serves you so much
Right.
more than you ever expected.
That's so
beautiful.
great. Okay, from your book, I'm going to show your book because this really is neat. If you haven't gotten this, it's been out for a couple of years. Why you decided to write it, and what's been a highlight from it for you?
Okay, so I'll tell you the honest line about why I decided to write it. I wanted to build this organization because I knew it was needed.
Okay.
And I'm a COO in my skill set. And I went to Bob Buford to his halftime.
You did.
And Bob looked at me and learned all about the demographic shifts and what's going on and said, you need to do this, but Diane, you've got to write a book. And I looked at him and said, Bob, that will be a miracle. And he said, I'll help you with that miracle.
I
So
love
the fact there's a book is a miracle. But it's just, he was right to have sort of a foundation.
Right.
Then, a lot of our cities, we now have 3 books. I'll have to pull this
Oh, I
out.
didn't know that.
We now
Diane.
and we have study guides for all of them. So here's the Working
Okay.
with Pray study guide, and then we have Working Women of the Bible. That's
Working Women of the Bible?
which Susan DeMickle in Columbus, he's one of our forward leaders, wrote. And a
Wow.
study guide. And then Elizabeth, who's in Washington, D.C., in our forward group, wrote Faith-Powered Profession, and then we wrote her study guide for it.
Wow.
So you can basically start a small group, and you've got the resources already done.
Yeah.
You just need a place and a time. And
Okay, so, but if God had shown you the vision of where you are now from where you were then, is that just not amazing when you look back on your journey?
totally amazing. Yeah, it's unbelievable how God's blessed it. And there was a huge unmet need out there.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the unmet need, and going back to the gal who started the question, how do you, like, the specifics? I mean, definitely I heard you, get a mentor, put it up, make sure you're working at a place that welcomes your convictions. Are there any other steps for that person that so they can be bold and feel free to be able to walk in and be who they are?
Yeah. So I even talk about it in the book about how to, share your faith at work. And I think, and I think you're talking about how do I stay strong?
Sure.
And, and that question's always in my head. What would Jesus do? And I think Jesus would just be loving. And in any situation that comes up, I think that when you are just trying to emulate Christ's actions without words, people will see a difference. No, I mean, they will definitely know. And then there's other things that are super practical. I mean, I tell young women involved with Forward, when I was on business trips, I went to my room every night at 10 o'clock.
Yes.
It is not smart to be hanging out at the bar after 10 o'clock. And you want to be really great the next day at work. And so you need your sleep.
Right.
And, God will bless you.
Right.
You don't need to worry about what everybody else might think.
Right.
That you're not there after 10 o'clock.
Yes.
So, there's some real practical things you can do to really keep your convictions.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of things you can do that people will notice. I mean, I wear a cross every day. It may be a different kind of cross, but, people will notice that. I remember putting on my out of office at the last company I worked with. I will not be here for the next week because I'm on a mission trip with my daughter. Well, I had people come up to me the next week and say, wow, I didn't know, you're involved with your church.
Yeah.
And so there's some ways you can be sort of just yourself and people will know who you are.
So I hear you saying maybe less on the pushing and more on the sort of leaving an open invitation to discuss things with others.
Yeah. And see, and I hear also saying for the person who sits silently in the workplace and feels like they can say nothing, so there's something that they can do too. If nothing else, be loving.
Yes.
But when I'm with somebody, I turn off my phone.
Oh, I love that. Turning it off when you're with
So
somebody.
you don't just turn it over, you're literally turning it off. Wow.
Because even the buzz can be distracting.
For sure. Yes.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I heard Rod Dreher speak he's got a new book coming out called The Benedictine Life or Order or something like that. And he talks about those things, turning off your cell phone. Because the message that it gives the person that you're with, because it's like you are important, you matter, because it is distracting if anything happens.
For sure. It is. And I love it. But to me, that's an act of love to say, I'm going to give you my full and whole attention. How many people do that nowadays? Not many.
And I really think it probably, in the end, even saves time because you're focused on them, and then you leave the meeting, and then you say, okay, what do I have that's important that I need to focus on right now? That's on my
really
phone.
Good.
Just so you're not going back and forth from one thing to another.
Meaningful work.
Yeah.
Instead of all the busy work.
I love that.
I agree. This has been
What else did the
wonderful.
Lord put on your heart? I want to hear when you woke up this morning. What else was on your heart?
Well, you know what? I thought a lot about just, the workplace and just how you can actually just have such an impact. And I think another one is you can be a mentor. And I'm not talking about the Forward Mentor program.
Right, but how do you do that? I know, okay, because I feel like women
I don't know about men, okay, because I'm not one, but there's that very awkward time where you go, I want a mentor. And but then it's like, well, how do I ask for a mentor? Who do I ask? So there's that awkwardness. And then there's the awkwardness of, well, I'd like to be a mentor. But what do you go to someone and go, hey, do you need a mentor? And it's like, oh, please say yes. Well, it's so, and I have heard that from women across the board and for years.
Yeah.
Any insight on that one? It's a bear.
You know, Kay, what you just said about women being mentors. So when women go through our mentor program as a mentee, we encourage them to sign up as a mentor the next class.
Yes.
We hear all the time, I never thought I had anything of value to add until I was a mentor.
I think
of
that's
Lisa.
true.
So I think part of it is you got to put your toe in the water.
Yeah.
You know, you got to just put your toe in. And then I would just say, I think really good mentor relationships actually happen really naturally.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think, so I've had people that have come to me and said, hey, I'd really love it if you would be my mentor. And, you know, we have a chemistry already.
Uh-huh.
And so I was just thinking of one of the gentlemen that I mentored at Trammell Crow. I mean, I'm helping him right now on his job search, and we haven't been in the same organization for probably 10 years.
Really?
Mm-hmm. But we've had this relationship, you know, and he's interested in what I'm doing, and I'm interested in helping him with whatever I can help him with. So, and then I do think you do have to sometimes jump out and know that, you know, God doesn't want us to fear. He wants us to be confident. And, you know, when I first came to Trammell Crow Company, I called the CEO and asked him to be my mentor.
Did you really?
Don Williams. And he said,
lovely.
Wow.
He and I are still, I mean, he actually
That's
performed
awesome.
my wedding ceremony.
Oh,
with
wow.
us.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Crazy. So you were bold, you stepped out, you've learned, probably it takes steps, doesn't it, to get there, but learn to be able to stand up for yourself and your convictions. Say it out loud. I hear a lot of communication, a lot of openness, a lot of looking out for others, seeing others, reaching out, caring about them, and that you can do it.
Yeah.
Gosh, and if we can train our children in these ways, what a neat thing.
Yeah.
Don't
But
do
Diane
that.
helped me too. Early on in my ministry, and I didn't even have a picture of what it might be, but I knew that there was something there. You were so generous with your time. And so I finally have my little 5-minute morning stretch that we were talking about, Kay.
Yes.
But sometimes it does take collectively, all of us working together
Mm-hmm.
for an idea to be birthed, you know. So thank you.
Oh,
Diane!
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us in Carpool, which I know you haven't done in a long time.
Yeah.
But we do all the time, and the teachers are like lining up right now.